Hi, and welcome to Manual of Arms. Today we are in for a treat because last video I had said that I did not have a World War II configuration M1 Carbine. However, at the gun show yesterday, I was able to find, after years of searching, a reasonably priced World War II configuration M1 Carbine. In this case, this is a 1943 Underwood. So in this video, what I wanted to do is compare and contrast the differences between a wartime and a late war to Korean refurbishment M1 carbine. So here are the two carbines side by side. It's important to note when you're talking about M1 carbines, there's a whole bunch of different variations. But generally speaking, on the top, we have a World War II configuration carbine, and on the bottom, we have a late war Korean War M1 carbine. In this case, the bottom one is a Korean return, and we can talk about that in just a moment here. Um, the top one is what you would typically see for a mid-war 1943 carbine. Some of the features that we'll point out are pretty apparent just looking at it. The first item of note are these sights. The wartime production M1 carbine had your just standard flip sight, whereas as you got further on in the war, this is what we would call a Type 2 sight, and it was a little bit different. It was adjustable. And these appeared in 1944, usually late 1944 and onward. And then later on for Korea, they kept some of these, and there was a Type 3 sight, which I can include a picture for reference. I just wanted to get one more view of the sight. It's very rudimentary, no adjustable anything. It just flips for a larger aperture. And that was really what you would see on the World War II carbine. Again, taking a look at the Korean late war carbine, you can see that there's an adjustment knob, and the sights were a little easier to use, or at least they allowed for more user adjustment. Another major difference is going to be the safety. The safety is just a button here on the 1943 carbine, whereas as we got to Korea, it was switched to a lever. And as I stated previously, the thought was that infantrymen may get confused and they may release the magazine when they're trying to put it on safe or vice versa. You have no bayonet lug on this 1943 M1 carbine. There's no shadow of one, there was never one added. Now, during late war and Korean production, this bayonet lug would be added. But again, on most, if not all, Korean carbines, especially Korean returns, you would see this bayonet lug. Flipping the rifles around, again, you can see this is all part of the bayonet lug. The shape, the general shape, is different. This is more squared off, and this is rounder. So that's just another little difference. Another feature I wanted to point out, and this isn't true for all Korean carbines, but I know in the 60s, at the very least, as part of the importation process, one of the criteria was to deface all the US GI markings. Again, one place I read said this was prior to import. My other thought could have been that if it was being used for Korean service, it may make sense for them to deface the GI markings prior. So you see that there's no marking here, and then underneath where the P should be, there should be a P-proof mark in this vicinity. It's gone, and you can see where it's been sanded or defaced. You move on to this carbine. I don't really want to move this around, but you can kind of see the shadow of a cartouche. So that's a U.S. inspector stamp. And then here's your Springfield Armory stamp. You can see the stock is a little worse for wear, but take a look at the bottom here. And you have that nice P proof mark. One thing I did want to mention was the fact that this ammo pouch fixed to the stock, that wasn't a standard issue thing with M1 carbines. Best of my knowledge, that was a field modification that some crafty infantrymen came up with. Makes it easier for you to store ammunition rather than on the belt. It just, I couldn't bring myself to remove this because this was dated 1943. As with the rest of this gun, I think it goes very, very well. This is how it was sold to me, and this is how I believe I'll keep it. Another difference is going to be in the stocks. Now, a lot of these rebuild or Korean imports or anything that isn't original will have a different stock. It could have an M1 carbine stock or it could have an M2 carbine stock. Now, the M2 carbine stock, there'll be a little extra cutout here for the auto selector, but this appears to be an M1 carbine stock. This is going to be a late war one because you can see it's got lower wood. This 1943 stock right here, this is going to have high wood. Now, sometimes during refurbishment, they did cut high wood stocks into low wood stocks. This could be what this was. I can't really tell just by looking, but generally, these wartime carbines will have the high wood stocks. And if you get a nice and early one, this cutout here will be eye-shaped. But again, this is a very early war feature. This is mid-war, so we're not going to see that here. Another bonus I wanted to touch on is World War II slings. This is the best way to tell. Well, I mean, they make reproductions like this, but if you have any question about the authenticity or dating of World War II sling, it will have this metal U at the end, whereas a lot of reproductions and post-war slings, it'll be a solid piece of metal. So look for that metal U-shaped tab at the end of the sling. In addition, this isn't quite OD green. It's more of a yellow, and that could be fading with time. However, a lot of these slings that I've seen are more yellow than green, the ones that I've seen that are original. Overall, I hope this video was helpful. I just had to make one because I had gotten this carbine yesterday and I am over the moon, very excited to have it in my collection. It has been years in the making. So, I hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time.